'Tis you that are the music, not your song. The song is but a door, which opening wide let forth the pent-up melody inside. Your spirit's harmony, which clear and strong sing but of you, throughout your whole life long, your songs, your thoughts, your doings, each divide this perfect beauty, waves within a tide, or single notes amid a glorious throng. The song of earth has many different chords. Ocean has many moods and many tones, yet always ocean. In the damp spring woods, the painted trillium smiles, while crisp pine cones, autumn alone can ripen. So is this one music with 1,000 cadences. For our prelude, please stand and sing hymn number 346, Come Sing a Song With Me. It's Lynn's favorite, and she will be talking about it later.
We will have our chalice lighting. A chalice lighting by Marnie Singer, whom I happen to know from another church another time. The chalice is the container, the space where the musicians and the listeners gather. The oil is the fuel, the hours of practice and the life experiences of everyone in the room. The wick is the instruments and vocal cords through which the music will flow. And the flame is the music which is created as if by magic. When the instruments are lifted, the breath is inhaled, and the downbeat is nodded. May this flame ignite the music within us all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to Eastrose Fellowship Unitarian Universalist. Everyone here in the chapel and also all of you online. Welcome to first-time visitors. And we are very glad you're here. I'm Cynthia Hopkins, one of your worship leaders this morning. We have a very special service today, and the reflection produced by Phyllis Adams with music by Mary Reese, is an exploration of some of our favorite hymns. Presented by Jean Wygant, Jan Applin Curtis, Lynn Pfeiffer, Keen Clay, Mary Reese, and moi. You, the congregation, will also participate as we make a joyful noise together. So this is a time, those of you who are old timers here know when we greet each other. The first thing we're going to do is turn up and say hello to all the people online, then we'll visit with each other. And I understand Katie Tenike is going to be online today, so let's all be sure to wave to her. Yeah. Yes. I always have to ring the gong because we all get into it so long we could be missing the program. At this point, Eastrose acknowledges the lands where our fellowship gathers, and they're home now to many widespread communities. And I believe the map will be coming up, hopefully. Maybe not. Okay. We do have a map at some point. The lands here that we reside on are the traditional village sites of many, many Indian peoples: Multnomah, Wasco, Wishram, Cowlitz, Cathlamet, Clackamas, and bands of Chinook, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Molalla, and others. We thank these original caretakers of this land and their descendants who are among us still. In peace, may we share this land and honor one another. If any of you online, giving you advance notice here, would like to share a joy or concern later in the service, please write it in the chat now so that Sherry can bring your words to us at that time. And now I believe Mary is going to introduce this next one.
Okay, this is our opening hymn, 395, Sing and Rejoice. Probably won't need the hymnal. I don't know why, but everybody always sits on that side, but we need to be in two groups for this. So split yourself sort of 1, 2, or something like that.
How's that? Well, not everybody go over there. They're still bigger.
Why don't we stay seated for this one? And this is what we're going to be doing for the whole hour, is singing and rejoicing. So I'm going to play this through. It's very short. And then you're going to sing it through. And then we're going to sing it through twice, starting with group 1, group 2. Okay? One or two. Why don't all the worship leaders come up and lead your group? We just need 3 and 3. Oh, well, okay, I'm going to play it through.
We need your help. We need your help.
Group 1 starts.
story time today is by Tom Lichtenheld, and it was inspired by Raposo's beloved song, Sing, popularized on Sesame Street in the 1970s, back when I spent my mornings watching Sesame Street with my 3 small sons. I invite the audience here in the sanctuary to help me tell the story in song when I give you the signal. And here's how the story goes. These 3 young birds, like all young folks everywhere, must find their singing voice and leave the nest. The green bird, probably the oldest brother, and anxious to be out on his own, easily finds his song and launches himself from the nest. The orange bird finds his singing voice and flies away soon after. The last little bird opened his beak to sing his song, but try as he might, this final little bird couldn't find his singing voice. He was overcome with frustration and sadness. Would he never be able to leave the nest? He had almost lost hope when a young boy came along. The boy sat down and began strumming his guitar. Online audience, use your imagination to hear the music so that we avoid the copyright police as the boy bursts into song. See how the notes begin to travel up to the little bird's nest? As the music notes reach and push against the little bird's nest, as the boy plays and sings, musical notes rise up and literally launch the bird and his nest right off the branch. The music of a friend has helped launch the little bird. He has finally found his own song, and away he goes to join the other birds. That's what worked for the little bird, lifting him aloft until he was able to fly and sing for himself. Sometimes we need a little help from a friend, even though our song may be different from other birds. It's just as special, and we can make beautiful music together. Gathered here today in community, we are helping each other find our unique voice and singing together hymns that support each other until we can all fly for ourselves.
We know that there is great abundance in our world, a great abundance of suffering, of people homeless, hungry, frightened, lonely, in danger, sick, exhausted, and wondering when this abundant suffering shall cease. We know that there is great abundance in our world, a great abundance of love, of people caring, building homes for those who need them, feeding folks who are hungry, comforting folks who are frightened, inviting folks who are lonely into company, creating peace and safety zones, healing and being with the sick, and welcoming the weary to a place of rest. We are the people of abundance, people who have known suffering and will know suffering. We are the people of abundance, people who have known love and offer our love as a blessing to the world. As we receive disappointment, anguish, and anger, we transform those curses into the blessings of hope, joy, and love. As we offer those blessings to this world, so our blessings increase. The smile of gratitude eases our hearts. The dance of joy sweeps into the circle, and the light of the chalice changes the world. We are the change we wish to see through what we give. What change will you bless the world with today? Here at Eastrose, we share half of our offering with a community nonprofit that we support. This month, it is Friends of Nadaka Park. If you attend online, you may donate by visiting our website and clicking the donate button, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. This morning's offering will now be given and received in the spirit of grateful fellowship.
Music arises from depths unknown, often without words, but never without meaning. And spirit rises from deep within me, seducing my body to join the song. First a tremor in the soul, then tapping of toes, breath aligns with breath, heart beats in syncopation, and a stuttering breath in my throat becomes a hum. Breath with breath, beat with beat, and music and spirit arise together. Wed with faith and hope and love and power, a song is born, bursting from my lips in sweet, sonorous symphony. a melody joining with other souls, perhaps in tune, perhaps not, but a song still arising from deep within and from community. Spirit moves, soul births song, and hope fills life, and I am not alone. How can I keep from singing?
We are here today to share in singing some of our favorite Unitarian Universalist hymns. Music is an important part of our worship service here at Eastrose. We frame the worship service with a prelude and a postlude, 2 to 3 hymns, often drawn from Singing the Living Tradition, our gray hymnal, or Singing the Journey, our teal hymnal, involve the congregation in singing. Choirs or soloists occasionally perform an anthem or an offertory interlude. A meditative piece may invite us into reflection or prayer, all beautifully organized by Mary Reese, our talented pianist and music coordinator. We understand that music can speak to the soul deeply and powerfully, creating a time of beauty and reflection. We often turn to music when looking for hope or inspiration. Through music, we can have a sense of the sacred by joyfully and gladly singing. Reverend Jason Shelton, a musician and consultant with the UUA, says, "What we sing is who we are." He asserts that our hymn books give voice to our theology at a particular moment in history, because the hymns make statements about our common values and beliefs. What better way to explain Unitarian Universalism than to share our music with someone? Our gray hymnal, Singing the Living Tradition, reflects the evolution of our living tradition from primarily a liberal Christianity among Unitarians and Universalists at the beginning of the 20th century to a theology that also embraces the riches of humanism, feminism, mysticism, natural theism, the Jewish tradition, and many other world faith traditions, as well as the skepticism generated by this century's disillusioning woes and wars. The preface emphasizes that religion is a present reality. It is also an inheritance. Or, to use a more current expression, a living faith must have both roots and wings. A hymn book is one place where we find both. Singing the Living Tradition was first published in 1993 in an effort to be much more inclusive in both gender references, multicultural sources, and a wider number of religious inspirations than the UUA's first hymnal, Hymns for the Celebration of Life. It was so successful at this that, as the joke goes, UU people have a hard time singing their hymns because they're too busy looking ahead to see whether or not they agree with the words. But our living faith didn't stop there. Since 1993, when Singing the Living Tradition was introduced, Unitarian Universalist musicians have been composing new hymns that nurture our spirits now and in years to come. Many of these are compiled in our teal hymnal, Singing the Journey. They reflect our theological diversity and our respect for the variety of cultural expression. Music plays an important role in other aspects of our lives, not just reflecting our religious beliefs. Music, Plato observed, is a moral law. It gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and charm and gaiety to life and to everything. All of the things we want to bring to our worship here at Eastrose. Even those of us who are not musically inclined can, to quote King Clay, make up with gusto what we lack in talent. My great-aunt Janet was one of these people. She took her role as a minister's wife seriously. Aunt Janet was she firmly believed in making a joyful noise each Sunday in Uncle's little Presbyterian church on the mountain. Never mind that she couldn't keep a tune. Her guidance came from the psalmist in the Old Testament. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all ye lands. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before his presence with singing. That is just what we are doing here today. It's okay if you have trouble finding your notes, because as the little bird learned, don't worry that it's not good enough for anyone else to hear. Today, we'll get by with a little help from our friends. As Lynn, Cynthia, Keen, Mary, and Jean each introduce one of their favorite hymns. Let's make a joyful noise. We began with Lynn Pfeiffer telling us why she invited us to come sing a song with me in the prelude this morning.
Well, we aren't going to sing it now because we sang it first. Hymn 346, Come Sing a Song for Me, with me, is in the gray hymnal, singing the living tradition. And Phyllis has now told me that it came out in 93. Well, I think our church in Palo Alto, California must have gotten it a little later, like 1994 or something. Anyway, it was new to us. The words and music were written by Carolyn McDade, who is also the composer of two other UU favorites, Spirit of Life and We'll Build a Land. And I didn't know those things. Anyway, McDade is not a Unitarian Universalist, but her sentiments agree with us very well. Come Sing a Song with Me is both loved and sometimes even hated, I was surprised to learn by comments online. Hated? By various UUs. Nevertheless, it remains a much-sung hymn in our congregations. It does cover most of our bases, singing together, dreaming together, and sharing roses or whatever we have in our own gardens. It might even be nice to have a verse about drinking coffee together. There isn't one right now, but, we could make one up, I'm sure. Anyway, the song expresses the idea that we need to intentionally make connections to truly know each other's minds. Excuse me, I lost my place. Truly knowing one another is a way we can bring each other hope when hope is hard to find. Now, I suggested this, Come Sing a Song with Me, because of its personal impact on me. Shortly after the new hymnal, the gray hymnal, arrived at our church, UU Church of Palo Alto, there was a wedding of two people in their 60s, which at that time seemed old to me, but to be 60 again. One was an old friend and one was a newish member. They were actually married in the Ethical Society of Boston, because that's where his family lived. That is a humanist, religious, and educational fellowship without formal creed or dogma. Anyway, they were married there, and then they returned to Palo Alto, and we had an all-church potluck celebration. And they said, would you come sing a song with me, because that's what we sang at our wedding. So we kind of shakily sung Come Sing a Song with Me, a cappella, of course. Nobody was helping us out with the piano, because it was new to us then, and I'm not sure we had ever even sung it in church, and there was no piano accompaniment to give us the tune. This song was loved by the couple since it was appropriate for their marriage later in life, a rose in the winter time. For both of them, hope was hard to find, as each had significant health problems. Indeed, a few years later, the husband suddenly died of a heart attack, and at his memorial service, we sang the song again, of course. We knew it better by then, but we sang it through our tears. It was quite a few years before I could sing it without tears. I can sing hymn 346 with joy now, although I still always think of my friends when we sing it.
Phyllis and Mary approached me a couple of weeks ago and said, "What's your favorite hymn?" And I was, "Morning Has Broken." That was the first one that came to my mind. A little background on it. Morning Has Broken originally appeared in the second edition of Songs of Praise, published in 1931, to the tune, and help me, Mary, with pronunciation, Bonessen? Bonessen? She's not helping. Anyway, it was composed in the Scottish Highlands. Bonessen, a hymn tune based on a Scottish folk melody, was first associated with the Christmas carol Child in the Manger, and later and more commonly with Morning Has Broken. It is named for the village of Bonessen on the Scottish Isle of Mull. Percy Dearmer, the Songs of Praise editor, asked English poet and children's author Eleanor Farjean to make a poem to fit the lovely Scottish tune, a hymn to give thanks for each day. Morning Has Broken was not a hymn that I was familiar with when I first came to Eastrose, but I have loved it since the first time I heard it here. The melody is just lovely, and the words resonate with me. I am a morning person. I get up early. I like to see the sunrise. It's a joyous song of praise for the beauty of nature, the sun, the rain, the garden, and birdsong, relating them to the biblical paradise called Eden. Singing these words to this beautiful Gaelic melody lifts my spirit, and I think it's a great way to begin a worship service. So let's remain seated and sing with joy, Morning Has Broken, number 38 in the Gray Hymnal.
Details is not one of my priorities usually. Dona nobis pacem stands for give us peace. It's around for 3 parts, short Latin text. from the Agnus Dei of the Latin Mass. Its melody has been passed on orally. It has traditionally been attributed to Mozart, but without evidence. English language hymnals usually mark it as traditional. Dona nobis pacem, which means grant us peace, has a simple but powerful message, often sung around Christmas time, and due to its message of peace, which we all share. Beyond the use at church, the round has been popular in secular quests for peace, such as the reunification of Germany was sung in 1989 in many churches in open air by people who possibly didn't know its meaning, but understood its meaning, its intention. For me, I refer to it as let there be peace. That's what I've always thought of it as, which is no real difference. But this is my favorite hymn due to the fact that it was one that was common in and around campfires in church camp when I was a child as a closing for the church camps, their fireside songs. It was one that was sung in church, so we were familiar with it. It was one that was sung in our family campouts and camp around fires there also, so it was one that we were very familiar with. It was one of the favorites of my mother, and at her memorial service, myself and my 3 brothers did it as a round, three or 4 part round. I don't remember exactly whether it was 4. I think it was 4 part at that point, in honor of her. And it was probably one of my most meaningful musical experiences. So if you will join us, sing it peacefully, sing it quietly, sing it as you wish, sing it as you feel it. But join us in singing it. We'll do it. Are we going to do it as a 2 or 3 part round? How do you wish to do it?
I'm going to play it through just like I did with that other song. Play it through once, then we'll all sing it through once. And this time, you split into 3 groups. So, and then each group will sing their part through twice.
Find your groups.
Decide if you're 1, 2, or 3.
I got this one.
This could be a group, that could be a group.
Jean has this group back in the back. Oh, no, I was going to split it down this way.
Okay, so then this group is this way.
Yeah. Which is, let's identify the 2 or 3 groups. This is 1, right?
This is 1.
And what's 2?
1, 2.
2 is the middle, 2
Raise your
is
hands.
against the window.
My group, raise your hands. Larry, be with my group. Karen? Oh, raise your hand. So I'm in your group. The rest of us are 3. And then everybody else. All right.
And the numbers are up there on the screen.
This is 2. Okay, my favorite hymn is the very first one in the gray hymnal, number 1. And I'll explain the title in a minute. The music for hymn number 1 was written in 1903 by Robert Quayle, born in 1867, and he was the son of a Methodist preacher who was a businessman in Ireland. The simple melody is very lovely, and the words set to it are most memorable. Louis Untermeyer, the author, was a supporter of radical causes and socialist causes, and he was harassed by right-wing organizations. He was a secular Jew, and he was inspired to write the words for this hymn by the mezuzah. And this is a piece of parchment contained in a decorative case and is inscribed with Hebrew verses from the Torah. It's attached to the doorposts of Jewish homes to ward off evil, and it contains the Jewish prayer, Shema Yisrael, which means, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." This is my favorite hymn because, well, it's not number 1 in the hymnal for nothing. It's gorgeous. I discovered it back in the 90s when I played the piano for the Salem Church. We had the old blue hymnal, The Celebration of Life, back then, and it was number 159. And this is back in the days when they used the correct titles to the hymns. The real title is Prayer for This House, and I refuse to call it May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. I think it's almost criminal that they use first lines as titles in the gray hymnal, because there's a whole generation that grew up never knowing the real names of a lot of these songs. They also changed the melody slightly. That's not okay. I'll use the original one, thank you. I always thought the words would make a beautiful calligraphy, but I never got around to making one. And then Lynn Pfeiffer beat me to it, and I bought one of her framed copies at our auction a few years ago. She said she's going to be making more of these, so maybe at our upcoming auction you can all get one. I keep it right by my front door. I also quoted the last line of this hymn on a prayer flag that I made for the Salem Church a couple years ago, and you'll see that on the screen when we show verse 4 up there. And it says, "Though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in." We're going to sing all 4 verses.
My favorite hymn is This Is My Song in the Gray Hymnal. The tune appears twice in our hymnal, with lyrics by Lloyd Stone written as a prayer of peace, and later on in our journey as We Would Be One. Stone wrote This Is My Song when he was only 22, around the time of his graduation from the University of Southern California. It was written during the brief time of peace between the two world wars, and the poet describes love for his own country, but balances that with love others around the world feel for their own nations. In 1934, Ira Wilson of Lorenz Publishing Company set Stone's words to the hymn-like portion of Finlandia by Jean Sibelius, widely regarded as Finland's greatest composer. His music is often credited with having helped Finland develop a national identity during its struggle for independence from Russia. This arrangement of Stone's words with the music of Finlandia was published under the title of A Song of Peace. Because they're set to the same music as from Finlandia, This Is My Song, A Song of Peace, is sometimes inaccurately called the Finlandia hymn. But the Finlandia hymn is more appropriately applied to the work that appeared 7 years later after A Song of Peace was published, when the words of the Finnish poet Veikko Koskinen Mimi were sent to Sibelius's music. This is one of my favorite hymns for several reasons. First of all, the song reminds me of my childhood as we sang the hymn in the Lutheran church I was raised in, a happy church family for me. The melody is beautiful and the words are moving. Hearing the hymn, I reflect on the value of our global community, respect for all nations, and the desire for peace. Please remain seated and join in singing This Is My Song, number 159 in the Gray Hymnal.
Well, Jan, you did me in. That's also one of my favorites. Joseph Mohr, a priest at St. Nicholas Church in Oberndorf, Austria, wrote a poem. He showed it to his friend, Franz Gruber, who was the church organist, and asked him to set it to music. At midnight mass on Christmas Eve, 1818, the two men sang it, and the rest, as they say, is history. The song, of course, was Silent Night. The carol immediately became popular and spread first to the nearby communities and eventually around the world. It has been translated into at least 300 languages, and according to Google, there are 137,315 recorded versions of it. In 2011, UNESCO declared it an item of intangible cultural heritage. There are two main reasons this hymn or carol is my favorite. The first is the personal memories that come to me every time I sing it. That's especially true when I sing with a congregation on Christmas Eve with candles held high. That tradition began for me when I was a child growing up in Roseburg and continues to this day. The only thing that has changed is that I now get misty-eyed when singing it. Every Christmas has added new memories of family, friends, and places. When I sing Silent Night, I can see them all in my mind and in my heart. The second reason that this is my favorite hymn is the feeling of connection and hope I have for the people of the world when I sing it. Christmas is celebrated around the world, and not just in countries where Christianity is the predominant religion. I've been fortunate enough to experience some of these celebrations. When I taught overseas, I spent Christmas Eves in the Philippines, Cambodia, India, Australia. Probably the grandest place I ever celebrated Christmas Eve was in the beautiful Santa Maria Maggiore Cathedral in Rome. In all of these places and so many more, I believe that people are drawn closer together, even if just for the moment, and truly praying for peace on earth and goodwill to all. Singing Silent Night reminds me that we are truly members of a family that includes all the people of the world. I've had the opportunity to learn Silent Night in German, French, Spanish, and Japanese. Some of you, Eric, I'm talking to you now, some of you probably know those words in some of these languages. I doubt, though, that many of you know the Japanese words. So we're going to sing it in Japanese. Fear not, as the angel of the Lord said to the shepherds. Japanese is a very phonetic language. When we get to the Japanese, we'll sing it twice, and you may either sing or just listen the first time, then all join in the second time through. The English words are in our number 251 in the gray hymnal, and we will sing just the first verse of it. So let's see what happens. Let's enjoy.
Young
These are a few of our favorite hymns. Selecting their favorite hymn was a difficult choice for some of our presenters today. There are so many favorites. In fact, one more hymn, not to be left out, Blue Boat Home, is a favorite of many of us. Since it is my number one favorite, Mary added it to the program. As an ecologist, this has to be my favorite hymn. When I sing these words, I'm in awe of this beautiful earth. I think of this hymn as the UU equivalent of the special hymn I grew up with, How Great Thou Art, that Mary played in the transition music this morning. How Great Thou Art also speaks of the awesome wonder of the universe. Please stand now, as you can, and sing our closing hymn, Blue Boat Home. It is 1064 in the teal hymnal. We will sing verses 1 and 3.
My friends, when you go from here, know that our hearts are always in a holy place, for we are always connected to one another. Know that deep down our hearts beat in one universal rhythm. May we each find the sacred space to hear it.
Into the world singing. Let us go out into the world singing. Let us go out into the world singing songs that proclaim liberty, songs that turn ashes into garlands, songs that bind up the afflicted and those who mourn, songs that, like oaks, have roots that go deep and stand strong. Let us go out into the world singing. We know these songs. They vibrate through time in our very souls. They are the songs that give us life. They are the songs that give us meaning. They are the songs that give us purpose. Now it is our turn to take these life-giving songs out into the world. Let us go now, singing these songs with voices deep and strong. And may the world join us in praise and in celebration and in love. Amen. May we each be blessed by the presence and power of music in our lives. Please remain seated and join in singing When Our Music God is Glorified, number 36 in the gray hymnal.
You may need your hymnals for this. I'm not sure how familiar it is to you. And it's number 36. We're going to do only verses 1, 2, and 4. I'll give you a little bit of an intro.
We have a bunch of announcements today. But first, I'd like to give a thanks to all of you who contributed to this week's service. Mary Reese for pulling all this music together. Lynn Pfeiffer, Cynthia Hopkins, Keen Clay, Jan Applin Curtis, Jean Wygant, for sharing their favorite hymns and filling in as worship leaders. And to Katie Norris for the lovely reading. And especially to John Netherton for pulling the strings that made it all happen. A few things to remember. First, potluck today. If you didn't bring anything, come anyway. We'll manage. Hike Portland's Hidden Jewel, Markham Park, on Wednesday, September 7th. Contact Eric for more information. Big Neighborhood Yard and Moving Sale, Saturday, September 10th. 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., Eastrose members are invited to either donate goods or to have their own table. Keen, you wanted to come up and say a little more about that?
I just wanted to kind of encourage a little bit that people will actually participate in this. Bring stuff early, on Saturday, or contact John or I, and we can figure out how to get the stuff here if you're donating. If you want to bring your own table and set it up and sell, we'll ask a small donation to one of our charities. In other ways, it's just a matter of bringing your goods and let's see what happens. Also bring your friends, tell people that they're about it. Again, it's next weekend, so it's Saturday.
Could you give the times and how early is early?
What?
8 to 4
Okay.
for us, 9 to 3 for the selling. So we will open to the public at 9 to 3. I'd also invite people to look at the banner on our outside wall, advertising it, and announce that Carol Knox has changed her mind a little bit. She is donating all her stuff. She's a little bit moved, overwhelmed with her move, and is donating all her stuff to the church. So we really need some people to come and help price it. And I will be here Friday, probably most of the day, getting stuff ready and pricing. So anybody is welcome to come. I'm sure there's going to be potluck food left over that we can finish off on Friday.
I'll try to be there, at least for part of it. I have one other thing, and this is a down the road type announcement, but I want people to be aware of it and be thinking about it. In October, we're going to do something a little different in the chapel here. On a Monday night, we're going to have the Readers Theater group come in and do a two-person play, Readers Theater play, called Freud's Last Session. And it is a fictional discussion between Freud and C.S. Lewis in the last weeks of Freud's life. So there's end-of-life questions, there's God versus Christian theory versus atheist theory. There's a whole kinds of different discussions that happen. I heard it last spring and was quite taken by it. I thought, this is something that should be here, we should hear it. It's a good way to start discussion or to continue discussion. So it will be on the 24th, which is a Monday, 7 o'clock here. It's free to the public, it's free to us. It's just a matter of come, the outreach committee is going to fund the little bit of cost that it's going to have to put it on. And I would like everybody to be thinking about it, put it on their calendar so they can be here and bring friends or family. The 24th, Monday night of October.
Will it be in the pedals?
It'll be in the pedals, yes. I'm going to be, yes, we will have it in there.
There is so much happening at Eastrose this fall. In addition to those things already mentioned, we have the auction festival. It's a go. October 13 and 14, online auction. October 15th, from 1 to 4, you'll want to be here for the party with raffle baskets, desserts, coffee, and tea, and more. Also, the cluster of UU congregations, of which Eastrose is a member, is holding a fall picnic potluck in our own Nadaka Park around the corner. Sunday afternoon, October 2nd, 3:30 to 6 p.m. That's another one not to miss. You can find additional details about all of these things in the pedals. Next Sunday, here at Eastrose, September 11th, our speaker will be our own Cynthia Hopkins. Her sermon is entitled, Letting Go of What No Longer Serves You, and Charlene Woods will be her worship leader. As our service ends, may we be blessed by the presence and power of music in our lives. If you're attending online, exit YouTube and connect to Cafe Conversations via Zoom. Or better yet, hop in your car right now and join us for the very first post-COVID potluck. Those of us here at Eastrose are invited to remain and have some coffee and visit and attend the potluck. We hope to see all of you next week, and bring a friend.